Okay, today we have a video for Gabby Franco. Gabby Franco. Gabby Franco is someone else that I follow on Facebook and YouTube. I am going to put a link to one of her videos below, so you can go to her, like, favorite, and subscribe. Yeah. Gabby Franco was a Top Shot contestant. She is the highest ranking woman in Top Shot history. She made it to the individual rounds and was knocked out. First and foremost, Dave Zodiac reminded me that I have other fans in Canada, up in Canada. So, give a shout out to Dave Zodiac. Now, today is Dominique Moceano's birthday. She's 31 today. Happy birthday, Dom. I just got done talking to her about an hour ago, maybe less than that. We were talking about something. Now, me and Gabby Franco were talking the other day too, and I said, Gab, you have any 1911s? She said, no, but I love them. So, because we're talking about Gabby Franco, I'll show her my 1911, in case she hasn't seen it already. Springfield Armory, 1911 loaded, 45 ACP, stainless steel model. It is hot, so we're just going to put it down for a minute. Now, Gabby Franco is a Venezuelan, Olympic shooter. She now lives in America. And this is a video about communism, and about how communism, well, affects gun rights. We're talking about Gab's home country of Venezuela. Now, the other day when I was talking to Dominique Moceano, I said to her, your parents' greatest accomplishment was coming here. Her parents came to this country in early 1981. She was born 31 years ago today. And she has a better life, as do her sisters, her husband, and her children have a better life because her parents came to America. Now, in case you'll notice a theme, we have communist countries, whether it be Romania, which is the home country of Moceano family, Venezuela, which is the home country of Gabby Franco, Cuba. We have a theme where people in communist countries come to our country. And yet, in our country, we have the audacity to say, sometimes in their presence, how great communism is. And I think it's hilarious that the people thank you. I think it's hilarious that the people that love communism and embrace communism, and the people that tell you how great communism is and that have been to a communist country. You have a person escape a communist country, come to America in search of a better life, and even if they're mopping floors and cleaning toilets in America, it still beats being in a communist country. And you have idiots that tell them how great communism is. Well, they left the communist country to come here. Why do you want to make this a communist country? Now, I've been to Venezuela. I was on my second Carnival cruise in 1995. It was me and my parents. I was 15. No, that's bad. It was 97. I was 15. Doy. I was on a Carnival cruise. Celebration. Sensation. The Carnival Sensation. We were in the Caribbean. We had like an island every day. Like we took off from Puerto Rico and we went to like an island every day. We were actually for 7 days, and of those 7 days we had like 5 islands. Well, 5 locations. And even though we mostly stopped in Caribbean islands, we stopped in Venezuela, which is obviously not an island so much as it's an actual country. And we were in Caracas. Now, the cruise director had an assembly, just like in school. You go to the theater, which services as an auditorium. the cruise director tells you blah, blah, blah about this island, blah, blah, blah about that island, blah, blah, blah about that island. We're going to Venezuela the next day, and the cruise director tells us, do not get in a cab on this floor. Get in a cab on this floor. Our cruise line trusts this cab company, and the cab driver will act as your tour guide. We're directing you to them. If you ever go on a cruise line, you are so much better off going on tours approved by the cruise line and going with drivers approved by the cruise line. You're not 100% safe, but if you go off on your own, you do it at your own risk. So we get off the boat, we meet up with this cab company, we get this cab driver, his name is Herman. It's me, my mother, my father, and a Russian guy traveling alone. I think he was a Russian immigrant in America, traveling alone. And we let him stay with us, we partner up with him. We're going to our car with Herman, and we see, I don't know if they're military or police. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're in a strange country. One guy's got a submachine gun, one guy's got a Zorro sword. We're like, where the hell are we? So we get in the car with Herman. My father wants to go shopping. My father had my mother, and my father has a daughter, my sister, and my father now had one granddaughter. Now he has we have 5 grandchildren in the family. But my father likes to go shopping for jewels and gems and little souvenirs to bring back for his daughter, his granddaughters, a couple of souvenirs for boys, for my nephews. At the time I only had one niece though. And my sister was pregnant with my second niece. So we're going around. We want to go shopping because my father can buy crap for my mother and stuff, for whatever he was going to do. The Russian guy wanted to see some historic sites, which is fine by me. I love history. So we went to some very, very nice churches. We saw some very nice sights. And, just simple, everyday, beautiful things, This church might be some church in your hometown to you, but it's 500 years old, and to a tourist, it's magnificent. We did a little bit of shopping. This is funny. We were walking around someplace, and there's a girl there selling maracas. And my father wanted to buy a maraca just to give her the business. You know how it is. She was like 7 or whatever. My father didn't have any small bills for us, so we'll come back later. We're going around, we see a woman selling t-shirts, selling Hard Rock Cafe t-shirts. And Herman gave her a little kiss in the cheek. We bought a couple of t-shirts off her. We went away. Herman said, wait a minute, right back. Herman had to go back to get his little sales commission. Can't get a sales commission in a communist country, get your head cut off. This is Venezuela before communism. And we go to another place, another girl, kiss on the cheek, buys crap from her. Herman takes us to a bar. He and my father have a beer. I have a soda. Wait a minute, right back. He's got to go get his sales commission. He took us to some very nice places. Venezuela is a beautiful country. And the people there were very friendly to us, especially us. We're Americans. My father gave a bartender a $5 bill. The guy wanted to sing and dance. At the end of the trip, we gave Herman his tip. Not his fare for his cab company, but the tip for his tip. That tip we gave him was probably more money than he makes in 2 weeks. If not more. I went out to steak dinner that night. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. We're going around. Beautiful country. Absolutely beautiful. Finest riches and resources. No traffic laws, so you got to be careful you don't get killed crossing the street. We're on our way back to where the cab was parked, and the girls across the street selling the maracas. Herman and the Russian guy go to get the car, bring it around. Me and my mother wait on one side of the street. My father runs across the street, buys a couple of maracas from the girl. I still have a set of maracas in my room somewhere. I don't want to look for now. We gave one set of maracas to my niece, who was like a year old at the time. My father just bought them to give the little girl a little business. She's a street girl. She doesn't go to school. She vends and hawks crap for her mother. And my father buys the maracas, then gives her a $5 bill for her. Depending on what the story is, the man that saw my father give her the $5 bill was either her mother's boyfriend or her mother's pimp. Yes. The guy sees the $5 bill. He knows we're Americans. He yells out, "American, American, American!" My father runs back across the street. Me, him, and my mother run to the car where Herman's coming out the car now. Herman, the Russian guy. The three of us get in the back seat. The Russian guy's in the front passenger seat. Herman's in the driver's seat. You ever see the Indiana Jones movies where they're all huddling around the car? We have a guy with an old ship. I don't know if it's like a colonial ship or a Christopher Columbus ship model. This and that. Every street hawker in the neighborhood is surrounding our car, dangling crap in front of the windows, trying to get us to open the windows and sell crap to us. The little girl comes over, and we have half the friggin' neighborhood surrounding the car, shaking it. And I'm like, "Herman, get us out of here!" Just friggin' take off. Because they didn't want to kill us, they wanted to sell us crap. So then Herman takes us over to the rich people's neighborhood. Now these idiots that hang out down Wall Street and poop on the sidewalk, they talk about 1% versus 99%. Let me tell you something, man. I'll bring those punk kids there and I'll show them 1%. All the rich people live in mansions. They have apartment buildings where the entire floor is one apartment for one rich person. And my father said the girl, her mother's a prostitute. Her mother's going to take the $5 bill my father gave her. And when she's like 14 or 15, she'll be a prostitute and have a couple of kids. Jesus. Anyway, my father says, we give Herman his tip, we go in peace, blah, blah, blah. My father says, this place is going to be communist one day. This is how the communists operate. They come to this place, they see what's going on. Sometimes they come in and say, well, let's help you, let's have an election, or let's just take over. Sometimes they have a full-fledged revolution. But communists will eventually take over this place. And my father said either revolution or communism. They had both. They had revolution and they had communism. And Gabby Franco was talking on Facebook and she said, I saw my home country lose its right to bear arms. I don't want to see this country lose its right to bear arms. I forget her exact wording, but she doesn't want her country to lose its right to this country to lose its right to bear arms. Hugo Chavez eventually stopped all civilian gun ownership. Now, communist people live in prison. A person in prison in America has more freedom than a person who is allegedly free in a communist country. Okay? In a communist country, you do what you're told, period. In Cuba today, everybody makes $19 a month. Doesn't matter if you're a janitor or a brain surgeon, you make $19 a month. I found that out recently. And a guy I know who's a stupid kid, he said, well, I was unemployed at the time. And he said to me, at least if you lived in a communist country, you'd have a job. And I said, well, I have a stock portfolio. And my stock portfolio makes more money than $19 a month. So I'd make more money anyway with my stock portfolio, and if I lived in a communist country, I wouldn't have a right to have a stock portfolio, and I wouldn't have a right to complain about the government. And it's like prison, okay? See, when you go to prison, you decide when you breathe, the judge/parole board decides when you leave, God decides when you die, and the prison officials decide everything else. You don't need to decide to take a shower. They decide for you. You don't need to decide to go to sleep. They decide for you. That's how it is in a communist country, my friends. They decide everything for you. They tell you everything. You don't need your brain. They tell you what books to read. They tell you what movies to watch. They tell you what clothes to wear. They tell you how to feel. They tell you how to think. They tell you what to say, if they tell you to say it all. Guns. You don't need a gun in a communist country because if I need a gun, I need to think to buy the gun. I need to think to fill out the application. I need to think what gun I want. I need to think to decide whether or not to shoot it. In a communist country, I don't need a gun because the government decides all that stuff for me. Shooting. I don't need to shoot in a communist country because the government will shoot for me. And I'm not picking on communism entirely. Fascism is exactly the same as communism. Even though you're like one is left, one is right, they're the same. The Democratic Party and the Ku Klux Klan, I talked about this in a video, wrote a gun control law in the 1870s. No guns for blacks. Because the Democratic Party hired the Ku Klux Klan to kill black people. And they first had to make sure the black people were disarmed. Adolf Hitler was a fascist. Far right. When Adolf Hitler came to power several generations later, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that Adolf Hitler coincidentally had the same gun control law as the Democratic Party Ku Klux Klan collaboration in America. I believe Hitler took it verbatim, okay? Hitler's gun control law in Europe was exactly the same as the Democratic Party Ku Klux Klan collaboration here in America. They just replaced blacks with Jews, okay? Jews in Europe didn't need guns because the government shot for them. Okay? The government controls you. The government makes decisions for you. They don't need you to make your own decisions. They don't need you to defend yourself. Okay? People that live in totalitarian countries, they don't need you to have a gun, and they don't care about your safety. They always say they care about your safety. They don't. Okay? If you live in a country that bans arms, either A, the street criminals are going to get you, or B, the government's going to get you. One way or another, you're going to get it. Iraq veteran 8888, Eric and Barry, did a video last night for a friend of theirs in Australia. And I'll post the link below so you can watch it. If you haven't subbed to them already, please do. They're great guys. There's a whole list of gun laws they go over in Australia. One of the gun laws, watch their video to get their insight. I'm just going to give you a little taste of it. You have a bolt-action rifle. You have to have a safe in this room for the rifle to be stored. You have to have a safe in that room for the bolt itself and the ammunition. When criminals realize that your gun is in one safe, your bolt and ammunition is another safe, can you physically get to the gun and ammunition in time? No. What do they realize? You are defenseless. Communist countries, fascist countries, totalitarian countries, they want you to be disarmed so they can victimize you. That's the reason. I know they tell you they care about you. Well, you know what? Hitler said he cared about the little guy. Okay? They lied. So, remember, we need to keep our rights for ourselves. And Gabby is 100% right when she says it. Her first country lost the right to own this. She doesn't want it to happen again in this country. I've seen many places in this world, and I will be the first person to tell you, go to this country, go to this island, this place is beautiful, this city is beautiful, these people are wonderful. I loved Venezuela. I thought it was a beautiful country. But I have to tell you that I advise you not to go there, because now it is ruled by a communist dictator. And my father predicted it will become communism. My father was right. They take guns away. I predict they take guns away because they want to start victimizing the citizenry. My prediction will come true, ladies and gentlemen. Remember your right to own this. Remember you are an American, or a Canadian in some cases, some of my friends. You owe an apology to no one. Period. Your rights are your rights, period. The minute you forget they're your rights or the minute you lose your right to have them. You don't owe anybody an apology, period. Future President Reagan said something in his great speech, A Time for Choosing. He and his friend were talking to a Cuban, and they heard, this is right after Castro took over. Well, less than 20 years, less than 10 years after Castro took over, I'm sorry. And future President Reagan says to his friend, wow, we're lucky to be Americans, whatever. We're lucky to be in America. Wow, how lucky we are. And the Cuban guy says to the future president, how lucky I am. I had some place to go. Remember this, my friends. This is the greatest country in the world. In spite of he who must not be named telling us it isn't. This is the greatest country in the world. Period. When we lose this country, that's it. That's it. That's it for us. That's it for people in Cuba. That's it for people in Venezuela. That's it for people in China. That's it for people in Iran. People all around the world depend on us having a great country for them to escape to. And remember Gabby Franco's words. One of our countries lost the right. She doesn't want it to happen in her new country. Remember that. Thank you.